Okay. We'll start off by doing roll call. Want to welcome Amy Stockman as new member. Today's her first meeting. We just talked to her earlier today. Amy, would you like to go ahead and introduce yourself? You're on mute.
Oopsie, sorry about that. Hi, everybody. My name's Amy Stockman. I live in Kalamazoo, area, with my husband and 2 teenage boys and dog and cat, and I'm almost certain one of them will interrupt me today in this meeting. You'll meet one of them. I have a background, my master's degree is in environmental studies from a long time ago at University of Montana. And I did work in environmental industries. I worked at a couple government agencies and nonprofits doing communications, marketing, grant writing, project management, education, all kinds of different things. I also spent a chunk of my career working for profit in an advertising and marketing companies with some big brands like Charmin, Kodak, Pampers were some of the brands that we work with doing interactive marketing. So their website from way back in the 2000s, which is a lot different now, but I'm really excited to be here. PFAS has been something that's sort of been on my radar for a long time, and I've been very concerned about it, and I'm happy to be part of, a group to help, find ways to help other people understand about it and do, maybe take action.
Thank you, Amy. So just so you know, we start off every meeting doing roll call so that members can see, the amount of members that are here. And then also during that time, if a member has community update to provide, they go ahead and give it at that time as well. So just so you know in the future.
Thank you.
Yeah. Brad.
Yeah, hi, Amy. You now added, you're at the top of the list instead of me. That's good. Anyway, I'm from the Lansing area. I have nothing new to report, and I am present.
Connie.
Yeah, I'm from Wayne County, and our big thing is the expansion of a big Coke facility. And we have that I'm sure is going to impact air quality, no question on that. And also, we have a lot of issues with Gordie Howe Bridge coming in and a lot of car traffic with a lot of more environmental pollution. All right, that's it from this end.
Thank you, Connie. Daniel Brown.
Here, no significant updates.
Yep. Danielle Burlingame. Al Manswitz. Gail Dugan. Jason Legowski's not able to attend tonight. Joe? John?
Yep, I'm here. Nothing from Iowa County to report.
Yep. And we're getting some feedback from your mic. Yep, thank you. Appreciate that. Lois?
Welcome, Amy. I'm Lois Graham. I live in beautiful St. John's in almost the middle of the Mint, and I'm retired from Eagle, and I was asked to be a part of this group. No report.
Lynn Knopf?
She's here. Lynn said she was here, but she's got a dog that she's pampering from surgery.
Lynn McIntosh? Mary?
I am here. I'm hello, Amy. Welcome. I am from Holly, Michigan. We do have an update. 2 of the homeowners next to the Falk Road dump have tested positive for PFAS in their water. Stacy Taylor is one. One resident had PFAS at 10.66 parts per trillion for PFOSA, which can break down into other PFAS compounds. No MPART Eagle meeting has been scheduled for Holly, Michigan that we know of. The former Falk Road dump MPART website has not been updated on the website since 2021, despite having of state of Michigan funds and additional Village of Holly funds. Village of Holly wastewater treatment plant has reported effluent coming out of the wastewater treatment plant downstream from the Falk. Yes?
You keep breaking up.
I'm sorry. My website is not very strong. Fencing around the Falk Road dump has started. $100,000 of state of Michigan funds have been requested and received. The fencing, we have been informed, will only go around two sides of the Falk Road dump. Our state representative listed maintaining the Falk Road dump security on his campaign literature, and yet it will only enclose two sides. The fence company staff had no protective gear while working on this contaminated site, including when they were working on removing bushes and trees with heavy machinery shaking and disturbing the contaminated dirt. Now it is learned that the fencing, so 2 years, Stacy Taylor has been trying to notify the site lead and staff of the consultant that the VAS boring on the north edge of the Falk Road dump has remained open. And the most recent time was this past fall when she spoke directly to the consultant and one of the other staff people. Holly Hills Manufactured Home Community, 18 feet across from the Falk Road dump, has started installing survey flags in the third phase of expansion, and we have never been informed of the plume of contamination being determined from the Falk Road dump. Does Yes Communities know that their water is safe as well? Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Pam? Patty Baldwin?
I am here.
Marcia? Richard Burns? Rick Rudisky?
Here are no updates.
Tamara? Sandy?
I'm here. I have no updates.
Shalene?
I'm here and I have no updates.
Stacy? Teresa?
I'm here, and a couple of updates. We had a town hall with Congresswoman Debbie Dingell, the EPA, and Eagle last week in regards to the BASF chemical company down in Wyandotte. Very interesting. From what we know as community, that water has been, the BASF has been violated for many years. And the Wyandotte mayor came out and said the water is safe. So I asked if there was an impact assessment being done, not just for the area, but on the people. Many of the residents have been complaining and commenting over the years that they have cancer and sicknesses. So that was held by Debbie Dingell's office last week. And I'll tell you, it was just like just talking to the wall. Second thing Connie mentioned is that tomorrow we have the EES Coke battery public hearing at River Root City Hall. And we just had a training earlier today on how to do public comment in regards to that. We are asking people, go on to Eagle's website, look up EES Coke battery and the application number is APP-2024-0157. Again, APP-2024-0157, and that's EES Coke Battery LLC PTI application. They're talking about putting on a secondary screener, and if it's brand new and good technology, why should it be increasing pollution? And it will be increasing pollution with this supposedly new equipment. It's in an area that's already overburdened. And they said that this will not violate the national ambient air quality. Well, we're talking about the concentration of, and look at the local ambient air quality. That is a known hotspot down in Industrial Alley. So that's one thing. The other thing is that also right down the road from EES Coke Battery is Fritz. Fritz has flown under the radar for many, many years. That public comment is open as well. I don't have the application number for that, but we're asking people to go on and comment. And I can send some comments. Andrew Bashi from Great Lakes Environmental Law, and Brian Simitzowitz from Sierra Club have formulated some talking points that people can address. So I can send that to you, and you can forward it out for those that may be interested on commenting about the pollution in the area. Thank you. What did you say, Mary? I see you put some in the chat. I didn't see it. You can't hear. We can't hear you on mute.
Hi, Teresa. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Hi, Teresa. I just give us that to put in the chat, that information.
Okay, let me see.
Or even in an email.
Okay, I'm gonna see if I can copy it and put it in the chat. Okay.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Teresa, Tony.
Yeah, thank you. Yep, I'm here. Just a couple quick updates in the Detroit area, which is my first home area here in Oakland County. We'll be having I think I've let everybody know there's a PFAS community meeting this coming and a no defense PFAS film screening this Sunday at 1:30 at the Solanas Casey Center on Mount Elliott in Detroit. If anybody needs additional information, just put something in the chat and I'll make sure to get it to you. And then next week, up at my second home up in Oscoda, we will be having our quarterly Restoration Advisory Board meeting with the Air Force, and we will be joined by top officials at the Pentagon and other folks from sort of the top of the regulatory side of things in San Antonio to go over a pending reorganization of the cleanup up there. So those are my updates. Thanks.
Bill Burnett. Not see him on. I'll hand it over to you, Sandy.
All right. Just one thing. Hey, Tony. Amy asked if there's a way. Are those RAB meetings? It says,
yes.
Is there a way I could view the community presentation? I don't know if you're talking about the RAB meeting or the no defense film screening in Detroit. So,
well, I'll answer both. The film screening and meeting will not be accessed. You know, it's just an in-person event. The meeting and the community meeting in Oscoda, you can sign up online, and I think in the weekly MPART notice, I think there was a link in there to do that. But happy to share. I can dig it up and share it, and put it in the chat.
I was interested in the no defense screening. So what is that? I've never heard of that before.
Yeah, it's a film documentary that's focused on Oscoda.
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you can watch it for like $2.99 online if you want to.
Okay. I didn't know if it was something just about PFAS in general. Okay, thanks.
Sure.
all right. We have the agenda there, and because it's a new year and it just seems appropriate this year, we're going to screw it all up and we're going to go out of order. And Abby's got to leave early, so I'm going to let Abby do the MPART updates first. How is that, Abby?
That would be fabulous. And Amy and Kelly can jump in here if I forget anything. We don't have a ton of updates for today. I will say that there's currently conversations going around internally. We have, I think you all saw that EPA put out their, just before the end of last month, they put out an EPA risk assessment for biosolids. So staff internally are looking at that document to see how it compares to what we've currently been doing, and if there's any, there's a call for public comments on it for EPA's website. So we will probably submit some comments, but have staff from MDARD, from DHHS, and from Eagle all looking at it to compile our comments. So we'll be looking at that and providing comments. And then it doesn't look like we have Bill on, so I'll just let everybody know we did schedule an update meeting for the investigation up at Cadillac. So that'll be on February 26th. And so that'll be virtual. And so we just sent out a flyer on that. And I think those are the big things. We've got a number of sites in the queue, so you'll see a number of updates for next month as far as additional sites coming online, but we're working through a whole bunch of stuff. So Kelly or Amy, did I forget anything?
Do you want to touch on the sediment and dredging issue? A lot of that going on right now.
Yeah, there's a lot of that going on. So another thing that we're working through to establish some a streamlined process is in the cases where we would require some PFAS testing for sediment dredging in our harbors and our lakes. And so obviously there's a lot of dredging that goes on every single year around the state for harbors and navigational channels. And so trying to determine, what's the leachability of PFAS out of sediments? Do we need to be concerned about it? And what does that data really look like? So we've only got a limited set of data around sediments. So we're having a lot of conversation with U.S. Army Corps of Engineers and working through some of their projects that they've got coming up. And so things are not set in stone yet, but we're, it's not an easy project. And so we're working through it. But yeah, go ahead, Shelley.
Yeah, so I was recently on a call with the Army Corps of Engineers and some other stakeholders here in the Bay City region about the potential dredging of the Saginaw River to increase the depth for the ability of cruise ships to be able to get down to a couple of cities along the river. And one of the ideas that was discussed was instead of taking the dredgings to the waste facility, the DMF up the river, they want to deposit that on city-owned property. So as a city employee, all of my red flags went up. And so when they're looking at, the things that you just talked about with dredging, are they also looking at the impact of where those dredge materials are going to be potentially placed?
Yeah, that's one of the primary questions that we have is, okay, if you take that stuff out of the bottom of the river, what's the potential for that stuff to leach back out and potentially cause additional groundwater contamination in the location that it's placed? And so obviously, wherever they place it, it has to be on land that, the city or the agency or whoever owns the property owner would have to give consent. But we also don't want to create a facility where you're going to have soil contamination and or groundwater contamination. So that's the big question is looking at the data to see, to make sure they're doing leach testing on it to see what's actually going to leach back out. So no, we would not, in the ideal world, you're not going to take dredge spoils out and then have them create Part 201 facilities and additional problems for any other entities. So that's what we're working to avoid.
I appreciate that.
Yep. Go ahead, Brad.
Yeah, so have we seen leaching of PFAS type contaminants from the confined disposal facilities that are being used right now if they are going to the regulated facilities? Because most of those are pretty leaky. I mean, they're not designed to contain the water per se.
Yeah. I believe that U.S. Army Corps has some data, but I haven't seen it. So I don't think we've got a good handle on what those confined disposal unit currently look like as far as what they have the potential to leach. They do have to get permits. And so if they have to get a permit to do any dewatering or any of that kind of stuff, they would have to meet NPDES permit limits for PFAS, so PFOS and PFOA. So we will be, continuing to keep an eye on it. But at this point, I think there's still some big data gaps in our knowledge base for that. So it's the next step in all of our PFAS work is trying to understand that. And then obviously, Army Corps, this is a big issue for them because there's a lot of projects, a lot of sediments, and obviously it's a cost increase that they were not anticipating. So, but I think we have a responsibility to our Great Lakes and to our citizens to make sure it's all done properly. So that's what we're aiming for. Any other questions? And this will take a while, so it'll be, I'm hoping in the next couple of months we can get it worked out, but it's a little more convoluted than I thought it was going to be. So we're working on it. All right. Unless my staff or anybody else at Eagle can think of anything else that I've missed, I will turn it back over to you, Sandy.
All right. Thank you. Gosh, that stuff just pops up everywhere where we don't expect it. Amazing. All right. So just so everybody knows, our agenda tonight is going to be kind of light. So we're probably going to be done early, which I don't think anyone will complain about. We were going to do a presentation on, what is it again? GSI? Am I saying that right? GIS?
GIS, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
GSI is the psych test. That's right. You're not doing that one. You're doing
GSI
GIS.
is groundwater surface water interface.
Okay. And but we weren't able to pull that together in time. So hopefully, do you think we'll be able to do something next month in March?
Yeah. I'm hoping so. And so what this would be, or at least what I think we were talking about, was doing a presentation on the MPART layer that was added to talk about the wastewater treatment plants and how, yes, thank you, Kelly. And so I think the web review subcommittee just talked about it some more. So maybe you'll get some more updates in your subcommittee things, but we can have somebody from that group come on and walk through how to use that layer, what kind of data you're actually looking for and what it means. Because it's not color coded, like, this wastewater treatment has a hit and this one doesn't, type of thing. All the dots just mean that they've done testing. So I think we can probably get somebody on for next month.
Perfect. All right.
Perfect.
Great.
Perfect.
Thank you, Abby. Have fun at your next meeting.
Welcome. Yeah. Yes, it's a couple more hours, so we'll have fun. All right. Thanks, everybody.
So Mary, I think you and I were going to talk about the discussion. We had talked last month about if people wanted to throw their hat in the ring for leadership or if we need to do elections for leadership. And Mary, how many candidates do we have?
No new candidates, unfortunately, that I ever heard of. When we had our leadership meeting, Sandy, Jason, and myself indicated that we all would be willing to serve again. However, I do want to say that unfortunately my time is not as free as the last time we had elections. So if I am to serve again, I probably will not have as much time to spend, but I will do my best if that is the will of the members. However, if there is anybody who would like to nominate themselves or someone else, there still is time, and we would love to have new people involved. Thank you.
So I guess the moral of the story is we will continue on. Let's take the next month, and if people are interested or want to learn more about what it takes, feel free to reach out. Let Mary or I know if you're interested. And we'll go from there. If not, I think we will just stay on by default until we are granted probation or parole, I guess it will be. So, so that's the discussion of leadership elections, unless anybody has something they'd like to add or say or do or. All right, another rousing discussion. So let's talk about subcommittees. I don't know that anybody who is on the public notification, is there people here from the public notification subcommittee,
Yeah.
Rick? Okay,
I'm
great.
here.
Lynn,
Yeah.
welcome.
Hi,
Speak
how
up.
you doing? Okay. Well, first of all, I am here. I came in late, so if you want to mark me on the, on the attendance. The fact that I'm speaking out loud to you is confirmation. Secondly, I did want to say something, Sandy, about the leadership team. I wanted to offer a thank you for what you're doing, all three of you. You're helping to hold this all together, and you're spending time and energy, and we all appreciate it. So I wanted to add that. I looked at who's here tonight. Rick, you're here tonight, and it's like Mary and Connie. Are John and Jason here tonight?
Yep, I'm here too, Lynn.
Oh, okay, great. Okay, I couldn't see. Like I said, when you come in out of nowhere. Is Portia here? Portia? I finally learned it. I don't think Portia is here. Okay. Well, then I will, since I kind of, informally led our most recent meeting, I will speak to some of the main things we talked about and ask John or Rick, please, and Connie and Mary to chime in. Jason, whoever. We decided to meet for just the citizens only. We met for an hour. We actually went overtime and everyone stayed on. We met on February 4th from 3 to 4 p.m. And we would like to meet informally as citizens only once a month, as well as participate in a meeting with the agency once a month, hopefully staggered. So Kelly, I'll figure that out in terms of the schedule with the agencies. Thought it was very helpful. We had 6 of us attend. Lynn, it's me, Rick, John, Mary, Connie, and Jason, and had a lot of good discussion. One of the items that came up was something that Rick had found and shared with us about Maine and an approach to private well water testing where citizens are partially reimbursed for the well testing if they share these results with the agency and also meet protocols. I don't know, Rick, did you want to say anything more about that at all?
Yeah, they will reimburse. They don't say how much, but they'll reimburse citizens that have wells in areas that are potentially contaminated. So if you're in a I would say like at a 201 site or a biosolids area, they don't just, give well sampling on a whim, but there's got to be a reason. But they will provide some level of reimbursement. And the other thing that I really liked about the program was that they had to submit the results in an electronic deliverable. So that just means that they have to submit a data file that can be automatically uploaded into the state of Maine's GIS system. So I just thought that was interesting. I don't know how much it costs. It's been in place for, I think, 2 to 3 years, and it just looked like a good way to encourage people to test their water. There seems to be like 50% when you start looking at all of the well testing and at the various sites during the local officials meetings. It seems like 50% of the people don't want their water tested. But, this would just be a good way to kind of break the ice on that. So.
Okay. So that was a very helpful discussion, and we'd like to follow through more with that. And again, maybe see if there's other states who offer a similar program. That also brought into mind the question of water testing, and it came up in our discussion. And I think Jason was going to do a little more research on this, or all of us, but there was water testing. There was a grant, I think it was for $5 million to do water testing, maybe 2 or 3 years ago. And I remember how encouraged I felt about that until I realized, one, the main thing is that they were not testing for PFAS. And two, that was so popular that the money and people signed up. I think it was filled up within 2 or 3 days. When you think about that, how we say it's hard to get people interested in getting their well testing, but when this money came in and all these people took the state up on this offer, it makes me, again, we want to discuss more about, well, first of all, it's too bad they didn't offer for PFAS, but could we do something like that in the future for PFAS, especially in certain areas where when it's getting hard to get people interested from getting a letter in the mail or something like that. I don't want to go on, but we'd like to discuss that further.
Amy, do you have a question?
Yeah, I do. How much does it generally cost for someone to get their well tested for PFAS? If they get the letter in the mail saying that you potentially have it, what do they have to pay?
Well, the way I understand it is that if it's part of the DEQ investigation, and even if the responsible party isn't putting out the money, then Eagle or MPART is. But if you're outside of a testing area, then you want to have your well tested, I think it could be in the $200 to $300 range. Whereas
Yeah. My understanding is you could do a cyclopure, which you would do yourself and send it to the lab for like $79, though I think, I'm not sure the reliability of that. I'm betting somebody from one of the agencies can say. And then I think it is like $250, $300 to do it yourself. So,
but if you get the letter saying that it's potentially, there's been contamination, it's potentially in your well, then you don't have to pay for that testing.
It depends. It depends. Yeah, somebody from MDHHS, I just saw your hand up and now I missed it. Yeah. Go ahead, speak.
Yeah, I got you.
There we go.
Yeah. Yeah,
Thank
no
you.
worries. So I'll clear it up. Yeah. So if it's Eagle, if you get a recruitment letter, so the letter in the mail saying like, hey, we have concerns and stuff, we want to test your well, that's something we call a recruitment letter, whether it's Eagle or DHHS, that is free. We highly encourage people to take us up on that offer because it is free. Second of which, there is a cyclopure test. A little bit about that is that it's $80, but it is not a certified drinking water method, where if you go to Eagle Lab, which has the cheapest option for certified drinking water method, that's $300. And then it goes up from there. And there's a link on the MPART website that has all the labs that offer self-test kit samples and stuff. Some of them, like private labs, they'll come to your house and do that sample for you and stuff. Like Eagle Lab, for example, that one you got to do on your own. But yeah.
So of the people that get the recruitment letter, you're saying only 50% of those actually get their tested?
Because yeah, it depends on the site. Some of them we get 100, some of them we get 0, some of them, we get like 50-ish%, but there's a recruitment letter, and then we make 3 call attempts if we have their contact information, and we try and find it through other means and stuff. And then we also do door knocking. So a couple different methods of you can respond to that letter. We schedule an appointment that way. We'll try calling you. We do 3 call attempts. And then while we're out in that area sampling, we'll also door knock. Eagle does the same thing. I don't think Eagle calls people, but they do door knock as well.
And what's generally the resistance to doing it?
Some people
don't want to lose their property values.
Yeah, Seller Foreclosure Act, property value. Other people are like, we don't know how to remediate it. It's like provide a filter. Connection to municipal water. Some people are resistant to connecting municipal water. They don't want to give up their well. Lots of different options. Some people are like, what is PFAS? So yeah, a couple different reasons.
Thanks, I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, so Lynn, you're gonna have this public notification group continue. If people want to sign on for that subcommittee, they can contact you, right?
Right. So
All
do you want me
right.
to leave it at that then for what we discussed? Is that, are you kind of, because,
Well, unless I have other subcommittees we got to get to, but if you wanna, if there's more, yeah, by all means.
okay, well, no, that might, we keep it at that. Yes, our next thing was the Cyclo Pro or the Cyclo Pure. And that could be helpful in certain situations. It's certainly, it's not official like the other programs are that you mentioned. I think we can leave it at that for now. We have our own minutes. The main thing is that it looks like Amy, you're new tonight and welcome. And hey, if you want to learn all about this, come join our committee if you'd like. We would value that, and anyone else. But Kelly, I'll get back with you about scheduling the meeting with the agencies, and I think we'll call it a day. So thank you.
Thank you, Lynn.
Mm-hmm.
I'll also check with some people I know in Maine about more about that program and see what they know, because I know a lot of people in Maine, so that would be good. I'll get that to you. All right, Mary, the membership committee.
Membership did not to Joe and to Daniel and did not hear back yet. So we're gonna still work on that. And I am curious if Amy Stockman would be willing. How did you actually find out about the COG?
I found out about a site, a contamination site not too far from where we live. And so I got on the website, was kind of looking into it. I knew that there was this, I had heard somewhere there was a group of citizens. I don't know what point I heard about that, but a while back. So I got on the website and saw that, you could still participate. So that's how I did it. I would think that the people in areas that are potentially impacted would be interested, maybe. I don't know, but maybe that's not the case.
Well, we're trying to figure out a way to reach out to people in those other communities now that we're up to close to 300, or I think maybe we're even over 300 now. And how to attract people to this group. And
do you guys do any social media? Do you have like a Facebook group or anything like that? Or do you do posts or anything like that?
Unfortunately, I am not a social media person, but there might be somebody in this group who would be willing to take that on. But yeah, we've thought about reaching out to the site lead to see if they possibly have had community engagement and any interested residents that might be willing. But I know that MPART, when they do the local citizen or local municipality trainings, they do point out the COG page on there and talk a little bit about the COG and what it's for. So I know that is included, but it is tough to reach out to that because actually the residents, they get as far as information. So
they get what? I'm sorry.
You
right
cut out there.
Okay. I mean, I'm
Daniel, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, I was just, to the question of what did we do previously? Probably more than a year ago now. I went around and reached out to basically all. So I work with the Huron River Watershed Council, and I reached out to all our counterpart watershed councils around the state, other groups that are sort of similar in scope or interest. At that time it was a mix of, we're people were too busy, and generally a feeling that amongst those groups, they felt like the statewide groups, so like MLCV, MEC, my own group that have kind of more of at least a statewide policy footprint, that we were doing a good job on polluter pay and other things. So they kind of felt like it was in hand. So it was hard to recruit people, both because of their own capacity, but then also I think it was hard to convince them that there was a need for them to join up. The narrative around the political situation has changed dramatically since then. So, I could try to reach out to, everybody on that list again, but at the moment, I'm, other than going back and reaching out to folks that I've already talked to, I don't have a lot of new ideas for just cold calling people.
One thing.
Yeah.
One thing that I was just thinking about is, so for instance, the area that is near me is in Comstock Township. And Comstock Township has a Facebook group of citizens of Comstock Township, and I'm guessing most of the other communities do as well. So I wonder if we could contact the admins of those groups and just kind of say, here's who we are, here's what we do. We'd love to just make it known to your citizens, to your group members, and they would probably grant you access to post. And then you could just post something about, that particular site and what what our role is, and how they could be helpful. I don't know. I mean, it would take a little time to identify each one, but I mean, how many sites are we talking about?
There's 300 sites. So, well, 300 and counting. So I think that's why. So I think Amy just joined the membership group. That's the great news with this, because she's got great ideas. So Mary, I'm going to think that you and Amy and Daniel are going to connect, because that's what happens in meetings. If you speak up, you get assignments. So no, I love that idea. That's a great idea. Because that's our challenge is we hear of a site and we think, gosh, there's got to be somebody who wants it, but how do you can't just start driving around, aimlessly up and down roads and calling out people. So please, I'd love it if you could at least join and participate a couple times to get some ideas on how could we get more members. We keep thinking with 300 sites, there's got to be 100 people that are interested in this out of that. So
for sure, they probably just don't realize it. Yeah,
that's right.
I'm happy to.
Good, thank you. All right. Anything else, Mary or Daniel or anyone else on that committee? All right. I scared Amy. She turned off her camera now. Website development.
Yeah, we meet at 4:30 to 5:30 just before this meeting every second Tuesday. So anybody that is interested, the link is always included on the email that Kelly sends out with the link for this meeting. So if anybody is interested, we had a very good discussion today. Amy Abby talked about it a little bit. The working with Kevin, I'm going to murder his name, Westikowski, I guess, presented what they're doing with linking the public wastewater treatment plants, POTWs, with groundwater or surface water discharges, rather than having having the locations of all of those, but then linking to the information that's available for sites that have detected PFAS in some of their analyses in either effluent or groundwater or whatever. Going to refine that a little bit, or going to try and refine that a little bit to identify which of those exceed criteria if possible, so that those would be highlighted. But in addition, it just helps to I think, Mary, you mentioned that some of the site data isn't being updated regularly just because of the sheer volume of information on some of these locations. And clearly for these types of facilities, the data available are extensive. So if somebody wants to drill down and look at that information, this particular layer does link to My Enviro data, and you can drill into that and get a substantial amount of information. So it's a good update on this layer, or a good amount of information available on this layer, and I'd encourage people to look at it. But if you're also interested in some of the earlier demonstrations, just come join us on our committee meetings or subcommittee meetings at 4:30 on the second Tuesday. So any questions? Probably Kelly would be able to answer them better than I could, but and she's showing you what the layer looks like here. Okay, thank you.
Sandy, you're on mute.
Yep. Any questions or any follow-up for Brad on that? That MPART site is really quite impressive for a website on this. I think we're the envy of a lot of states with that website. So,
and Amy,
the last,
I'm sorry, just a second, Sandy. Just to Amy, one of the things that you might, if you haven't already, there is a lot of good information on the MPART website, especially when we look at the information for residents sub page that's there. There's a number of links for lots of information. So if somebody isn't interested necessarily in coming and participating directly in our meetings, there the ability to look at that information and find a lot of information, and then potentially ask questions or follow up with either staff or people on this committee. That's also helpful.
Yeah, thank you. All right, then the last subcommittee, I don't know that we even have anyone on this one. So Kelly, did we ever get a date or time set for this subcommittee or people who offered to be on it? Besides, I think Daniel and I talked about being on it.
The only two people that signed up in the survey that I sent was you and Mary.
Okay.
And then I don't know if anybody responded to the email that you sent for subcommittees.
No, nobody responded to nothing. So.
Oh, no, I didn't schedule a meeting for the two.
Okay, right, because nobody would have been there and that would have been a waste of time. So I guess here's my thought. People identified this as an issue when we did the survey and when we were doing the voting. Oh, Daniel's got his hand raised. So if people are interested, we can keep this subcommittee, but if there's not an interest, then I don't know what we do with it. So Daniel, do you have ideas?
Right. No, I just say, so I'm still interested in that assisting communities education subcommittee, but I was thinking about that this morning because I remember talk of the survey, but then didn't remember seeing it in my inbox and I couldn't find it. So maybe I accidentally deleted it, but I am still interested in helping out with it.
Okay, great. And Amy is so brave. She's raising her hand yet again. I love this courage. It's courage on a snowy February night. I found my people.
This is not wine in this month. No, I'm kidding.
Good.
So tell me what the difference is between that and the public. What's the goal or what's the mission of the assistant?
Good question. So public notification, one of the things we have been working on for years on this Citizens Advisory Work Group, and Lynn can help me if I screw this up, is the idea that when there is an identified site like there in Comstock, and I have family in this area, so I'm very familiar with this, that people should be notified that there's an investigation going on so that they can take whatever precautions they choose, even if their well isn't immediately getting tested, but within a certain area. That has caused great consternation between agencies and citizens, and we're trying to find a way to remedy that. So that's the issue of public notification. The other issue was when a community is identified, is there support that we can give? So you heard people like Mary talk about the concerns in Holly, not feeling like they're getting the information they need, or Cadillac has been brought up before that. And is there some assistance we can give with that, but also some education that we can provide on things and helping kind of bridge that gap. So they're kind of similar, but really have different goals. I think that clarifies it. If there's differences in that, people speak up if I killed that, what I explained.
Well, I would be interested in being on the Assisting Communities Education Subcommittee too, if that happens.
Okay, good. So Kelly, I wonder, is it possible for you to send just a doodle poll out for availability at times for just that committee and see if we get more people signed up?
Yeah, doodle poll to everybody for just that committee?
Yes.
Okay, yep.
If I have to trick them to get them on that committee, I'm not above that. You know, I'm fine with that. So if you could do that, I would really, really appreciate it, just because I don't know how to do a doodle poll. And it could be,
Yep.
I'm guessing, you know.
You want me to do it like I did last time to figure out like a time frame that works best for everybody and
Yes.
days that, okay.
That would probably be
Not,
great.
not
It's a
next
good
year.
start. Yeah. All right. Great. That's it on subcommittees. We talked about doing an in-person meeting. Mary, was it, Mary, I'm hoping you can help me remember when we talked about doing this. Was this in May, I think?
Yes, we talked about doing it in May, and we had mentioned doing a tour along with it. And in talking with you, we decided to hold off on the tour because we were trying to make the meeting more of a central location, such as Lansing, and wasn't sure of a location, but you also brought up the fact that this could prove to be expensive for residents that are affected by PFAS to do. So you thought that waiting until we had another group that would be willing to underwrite the cost of the tour might be a better option. So
Yeah.
we would rather
Now I
have
remember.
the in-person meeting where more people are willing to meet and not have cost be a factor in that. So
That's right.
that was why we decided to just stick with the in-person meeting and leave off the part about the tour at this point. So hopefully other people, members.
Yeah, now it's all coming back to me. Mary is really my memory, I'm finding. Where we've done bus tours of contaminated sites, we've done them in Oscoda, I think. We've done them in Detroit. Teresa's taken us on tours. We did them in Rockford. They're really eye-opening, but they also cost a lot. So you have to find a NGO that is willing to help underwrite the cost of the bus and the transportation and food and all of that. So what I will do is when we hear of another bus tour, I'm sure we will be doing more, then we can let CAG members know. So if they want to join that, they can. But let's plan on meeting in Lansing in May for an in-person COG meeting at that date. And I'll get with Abby and the rest of you agency folks to plan that a little more. Will that work out, Kelly? Whatever the date is in May.
Yep. That
All
will
right.
work.
Okay. Kelly's showing me something. I don't know what. May 13th. Put that on your calendar in person. We'll get you more information. Then the last thing we had was just, we were brainstorming ideas for future topics. I know Minnesota has a really strong product ban that they've put through that's obviously being fought in the legislature in Minnesota. But we could get somebody from Minnesota there that was instrumental in that to come and speak about that. PFAS and consumer products and a product ban, because I think we've all recognized that if we don't stop it at the front end, we're going to continue just to be cleaning things up. So that was one idea of future topics to bring up. Another idea was Battelle, which has the PFAS annihilator. Tony, are they using that up in Oscoda? You know, is Tony still on?
Yeah, I'm still on. They're using some Battelle method for something. I don't know if it's the annihilator, but there is some Battelle. I think it's a pilot study on something, and I apologize, I don't have the details.
That's all right. I think they're based out of Grand Rapids, and so Jason was going to see, he knows people there, if we could even maybe do a tour of the facility or have them present. And then, of course, we always like to hear from Phil Roos, and it would be about time in the next, not maybe in March, but maybe in April, for him to come and give us an update. So those were 3 ideas for future topics. I'm open to more. Mary, you've got your hand up. And Rick.
I just was wondering when Kelly was pointing out the May 13th being the Tuesday, if members would be more apt to come on a Tuesday, or would a weekend be better? Just for Sandy shaking her
Well,
head no.
no, what do people think? That was just my reaction. What do you guys think? Kelly, I guess add that in the doodle poll.
I can't find my hand to raise,
Okay.
Sandy, but this is Lynn. And okay, I think the problem in May of doing something on the weekend is that you're starting to get weddings and open houses and things start really gearing up in family life. That's the only thing I can think of as for where weekends can get hard. I'm not saying that's the showstopper, but that is something. And Mother's Day weekend too is in there. So, right.
And I'm not gonna lie, I love my job, but Saturday, working on a Saturday does not sound fun.
Exactly.
Okay. No.
That's fine. If people are comfortable with the Tuesday, I just want members to be able to meet at the best time for them.
Good point. All right. Rick and then Tony.
Yeah, I'm kind of interested. I've been trying to keep up with Cadillac, and there's a number of people that have had their blood tested by Quest Diagnostics, and they have a very, I would say, odd test method where they're summing up all of the different PFAS compounds, and they're saying you're such and such a percentage degraded or something. I mean, I'm trying to filter this through, what people are saying, but whatever they're including as for an explanation, I think it's really raising more questions than probably necessary. And I'd just be curious with MDHHS if they've looked at a Quest report and could explain what they're doing, because it's just looking on their website and then hearing people talk about it, it just didn't make any sense, because you've got your the NHANES data is out there, and you're either plus or minus on the individuals, but as far as summing them up and things like that, it just kind of made my hair, what hair I have left, bristle a little bit. So anyway, that's just my comment. I'd like to see something or hear something about that test.
Yeah, I completely agree. I've had concerns too. Jocelyn, do you want to talk about that now, or can we set up a time for you to explain how to read those blood test results?
Yeah, I haven't, well, I guess I was just going to add that I haven't seen like the actual report itself, but I've talked to Quest about their lab method and stuff. And interesting thing about blood testing versus like drinking water testing is it's not certified. Like there's no standard lab method with it, where drinking water does. Like I called Quest at one point, was like, what is your lab method? Is it like CDC, ATSDR? They do have one that's like publicly available. But if you try talking to any of the private labs who offer blood testing, they're like, it's lab developed, it's intellectual property. They can't tell you anything more about it. So what goes into that, and then how they describe their results, we only know so much, because they claim a lot of intellectual property. So, but that's all
Okay.
I'll add. So sorry, Sandy, I didn't answer your question either. So.
That's okay. Rick,
Yeah,
I think that's such a good question, though. I'm going to ask around and see if I can find somebody, from.
Yeah, I was going to say, Sandy, I'm friends with the the Grand Rapids area representative from Eurofins, and they're a real high quality testing firm, and we could possibly, they were one of the few people to they got their blood test out first, but it's more expensive than Quest. But we could get somebody from them to talk. I can find out if we're interested. So
Okay. Yeah, let's you and I talk about that and see what we can do. But I hear blood testing and how to interpret that, because I know NMS is working on some too, and they test different, and there's branch and linear, and it's so complex to have people try and understand this, and they're desperate for it. So that would be really good for us to help figure out. for communities. Good point. Tony, you had something, and then Mary?
Thank you. For a future topic, my understanding is that the new PFAS fish guidance is going to be coming out in the spring.
Oh, good.
And I think that we've had a presentation on that in the past, and we've had, to be honest, some very enduring frustration that it has taken this long, and we're still operating under guidance that was established in 2012, which is light years ago in the PFAS world. So I think there are a bunch of us in communities that are have impacted fish that are going to be looking really closely at what the state comes up with. I think it would be a really good discussion if we could have it, at an appropriate time once that announcement's made.
Good idea. All right, I'll add updated fish guidance, blood testing. Anything else you guys want us to add to the list? Mary, you had your hand up. Or
actually, I had tried to lower it, and
Okay.
I just figured out how to do it.
Okay, good. All right, Tony, okay. All right, well, we will add these to the list and get these scheduled, as well as all the other things we've got going on here. It may be interesting too I'm not even gonna try to have somebody from the EPA come and talk about what's going on, because I don't know what's going on. They don't know what's going on right now. So anything else then? I think that's it. I think we've wrapped up in an hour, which should make all of us happy.
Thank you,
Just have
Sandy.
one last thing.
Yes, Kelly, go ahead.
So our meeting links ended this month. So I will send out new meeting links for future meetings. I just didn't want to confuse people with them connecting to the wrong link. So
perfect.
I'll get
All
those
right.
back on calendars.
Wonderful.
Thanks, Kelly.
Thank you, Kelly, for all you've done. Thank you. All right. Well, everybody gets an hour of their life back tonight. That's wonderful. Thank you all for coming and doing this, and go get ready for a snowstorm. So we'll see you all guys next month.
Thank you, Sandy.
Yep. Bye.
Take care, everybody.